This is Scott Becker with the Becker Private Equity and Business Podcast. Today's discussion is Qatar gives billions to American university. So one of the things that's happened over the last several years is, or really more recently on college campuses, is these very pro-Hamas protests where somehow or another Israel has been painted as the oppressor and Hamas and the Palestinians have been painted as the oppressed. And this has led people to ask for ceasefire, to protest Israel bombing / defending itself in the Middle East and so forth. And one of the things you've seen on these Ivy League campuses is sort of the protest run somewhat amok, where as a Jewish student, very, very scared to be on some of these campuses at this time. And we've seen tremendous silence from a lot of the top universities around this. In fact, at one school, they said to the Jewish students, go ahead and take your classes virtually, it's okay. But that's no way to provide a safe environment for students. And you ask, why does this happen? Do the leadership of these schools not care about civil rights? Do they not care about some of their lost donors? And the reality is, the one thing that's clear is they do care about their donors. That the problem is that the biggest foreign donor to American universities is now Qatar, which has donated $3 billion plus in money to American universities over the last 10 to 12 years. So when you look at that, you understand why at the end of the day, the universities go a little slow on policing the pro-Hamas Qatar-driven protest and Hamas-driven protest because they're afraid to offend their biggest donor. You hear other donors saying, we're going to pull our money, those kinds of things. But most of those donors are $1 million donors, maybe $100 million donors. They're not the Qatars of the world that have donated $3 billion to U.S. universities over the last 10 to 12 years. That just is a huge amount of money, which is a huge amount of impact on the people that run these universities. One of the things that's fascinating about this, and I apologize for going off at a political vent today, but it is what it is that, we say about politicians hear you if you talk to them, but they're more likely to listen if you give them money. And what you've got here is a perfect example of the university presidents a little bit scared in their shadows of how to deal with both their faculty and how to deal with the Qatars of the world that are donating tremendous amounts of money to them and trying to figure out how to police this and what to do. You've got colleges all over the country canceling graduations, not because of COVID, but because pro-Hamas terrorists and protesters, and you might say, calling pro-Hamas protesters or Hamas terrorists is the wrong categorization. But I would argue that Hamas is really not, at the end of the day, a benevolent friendship organization. It's a terrorist group that's really devoted to getting rid of Israel and the Jews in the Middle East. And then at the end of the day, for anybody that doesn't understand this, coming after Europe and the United States. That's ultimately the goal of Iran and the Islamic Republic of Iran. Thank you for listening to the Becker Private Equity Business Podcast. As always, you can text me whether you love or hate this. If you're the first two people to text me, we'll send you a $50 Amazon gift certificate, 773-766-5322. Thank you very much for listening.